Well, finally, it's fair to say that before its release this weekend, reviews for the new Melania documentary film from mainstream press were less than glowing. A cheeseball infomercial of staggering inertia, said Variety. Dispiriting, deadly, and unrevealing, said the UK Guardian. Glossy, but curiously impersonal, said the New York Times. However, judging by the box office, the film has been a smash hit. Melania is officially the highest grossing documentary of the last 10 years. And joining me now are Melania's director, Brett Ratner, and producer Marc Beckman, who's also a senior advisor to the First Lady. Well, welcome to both of you.
Welcome. Thanks for having us, Piers.
Thank you.
Long time.
It's been a long time. It certainly has. And Brett, I've got to say, I watched the movie. I enjoyed the movie. I'm not an impartial viewer of the movie. I've known the First Lady 20 years, since I first did Celebrity Apprentice and spent a lot of time around the Trumps. I've seen her many times over the years. I've always liked her. I think she has, in private, she's very warm. She's funny. She's smart. She's, I think, very self-aware. And I think in public, she's been remarkably, I think, skilled in the way she's been a First Lady amid unbelievable pressure. You know, this is somebody who's had to watch her husband get shot at, nearly assassinated. People try to put him in jail. Obviously, all the scandal that swirls around with Trump at any given moment, all the division and contention and so on. And yet, amid it all, has been this very calm rock in the form of Melania, quite mysterious in many ways, if you don't know her. So I watched it and I enjoyed it. And I think that what's interesting to me is watching people review it who clearly have an agenda against the Trumps. They're trashing it. And conversely, people who love the Trumps all saying it's the greatest movie of all time. I don't think it's either. I don't think even you would say it's the greatest movie of all time. But what's been your assessment of how this has played out?
Well, it shows, I think, everyone that you can't really trust the critics. You know, we have something that's unprecedented. We have an A cinema score. I don't know how many of I don't think any of my movies that I've made in the past have ever had an A cinema score. So, you know, usually a good movie is a B plus or an A minus. So it shows you the separation between the critics and the audience, the true audience. I mean, I think it's the largest spread. I think the number on Rotten Tomatoes is maybe 10%. It fluctuates between 6 and 10% based on new reviews coming in. And then it's got a 98 or 99% audience favor. So it's an interesting case study, if anything, to say the least, about how far away the critics are. You know, film criticism, when I grew up, was an art form. You know, even though there was a bad review on a movie, if you read it, there was always an intellectual approach to it, and you still were interested in seeing the movie, whether it had a good review or a bad review. And Rotten Tomatoes was kind of like the beginning of the destruction of the film business, in my opinion. Even though, interestingly enough, I had read somewhere that Rush Hour was the reason why Rotten Tomatoes was created. So I say that as the destruction of the film business, because now it's like if you have if your tomatoes rotten, people aren't interested in seeing the movie. And I think this film will kind of be groundbreaking in the analysis of film critics versus audience interest.
You know, Piers, if I may just jump in for a second.
Yeah.
Just to make it to put it in simple terms, the First Lady and Brett Ratner put together an enjoyable film. It's created in a very cinematic, highly rich, stylized way. Great sound, great music, and it's a story that's never been told before. And this guy right here, Brett Ratner, was able to, I think, break ground and revolutionize the concept of documentary. Never do we see the First Lady sitting there with an empty warehouse behind her as a talking head. Brett was able to go ahead and tell her story, this unprecedented story of an individual moving back into the White House as First Lady of the United States, covering intimate moments with her family, her career, and her philanthropy in a way that's never been done before. I give this guy a ton of credit. He put it together in a way that's groundbreaking, and that's why the rankings from the consumers are so high. It's enjoyable.
But it is, Mark, it's a blue-red thing, isn't it? Where in the blue states, they're not going to see it, and they hate the Trumps and so on. In the red states, they love the Trumps. They're flocking to see it. A lot of women in particular are flocking to see it. I can see why. I've said to Melania before that to me, she's right up there with Jackie Kennedy as one of the great fashion icons of all the first ladies. And if you don't agree with that, either you're blind or you're just blindly partisan, because she clearly is. You've advised the First Lady, I know, for a while. The thing that struck me was interesting was it's quite a big move for her to go public like this. I once said to her, you remind me a bit of the Queen Mother and the Queen in the UK royal family. You always had a mantra: never complain, never explain, and rarely be heard speaking in public. And she went, I know that quote, and I like that quote, and I tried to follow that quote. Yet here she is, sort of peeling back the curtain and saying, okay, this is a bit more of me than I've ever shown you. That's not something you do lightly.
And it's way beyond fashion. For example, Brett was able to capture an initial meeting that triggered a series of events, ultimately leading to the rescue of a human life in Gaza. And I can let Brett talk to that a little bit more. But there were so many moments in this 20-day period that Brett was able to capture with the First Lady that today continue to play themselves out. The work she's doing with the United Nations General Assembly for fostering the future together. It's really an interesting thing. This is much more than a fashion explosion. There's a lot more important action that the First Lady takes and that Brett captured during this time period.
Well, Brett, one of the moments for me that I found really poignant, and it just really cut, I think, to the reality that you're public property when you're a First Lady, as you are President. But you've also got to deal with real life private stuff. And there's a day in the 20 days where she starts the day at the memorial for Jimmy Carter, former president, obviously. And then that evening, she's in a cathedral, a church, lighting a candle for her mother, who died a year ago that day. And her and her mother were very, very close. So a very emotional day for her personally, and a very big, big day for her publicly. And they're both around grief and people dying and being in places of worship. And I thought you brought that together really powerfully, because it showed me that's the reality of being in public life, is you've got to somehow juggle both things.
Yeah, she talks about it in the film. Her day job is as the First Lady, but she's also has to be a mother, a wife. She has so many obligations. It's interesting that you say this because, as the director and the film crew, we have breaks in between, right? We film and then we take breaks, but I'm there from the moment she wakes up in the morning till she goes to sleep. And on those breaks, when we're either eating or changing out equipment, she's having high-level meetings in between. So her passion for her role as First Lady, I was saying to my producer, I was saying, we should have a second crew just filming the meetings that she's having in between the filming, because those are as important as the stuff that we're filming. And she's so passionate about being the First Lady in her service. And that was really, to me, incredibly impressive, how seriously and how passionate she is, how seriously she takes this role as First Lady, which is unprecedented, obviously, and really also the love between and the mutual respect and admiration between her and her husband. That's another thing that I was very proud of, that the film.
Well, that's really interesting.
He has the utmost.
Yeah, I want to bring Marc in on that because I've known the Trumps, like I said, 20 years. So from soon after they got married in the early 2000s, and everybody else has always told me she hates him. She's the Ice Maiden. It's a transactional thing. She doesn't want to be there, blah, 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 blah. And I've always said, you really don't get these two. I said, when you actually are around them together, they're very easy together. They're seemingly very happy together. There's a real, I think, mutual understanding of each other, which is often lost on the public, perhaps because a lot of the public can't view Trump through a normal lens at all. But, what is your sense? You've obviously been around them as a couple. My instinct is that warts and all, good, bad, and ugly, they have a pretty good marriage.
Piers, they've been together since the 1990s. I've been working with the First Lady since before Barron was born, over 2 decades. And I can tell you that she has a ton of respect for him. We talk about it in her best-selling book. I see it firsthand. It's her husband. They have an interesting life, right? He's a hardworking person, and he's the president, so he's constantly working, constantly on the road, as is she. She's the hardest working person I have ever met. We never take a day off. It doesn't matter if it's the weekend, a holiday, late at night. So the interaction between these two people is really like any other husband and wife. Brett captures it on the film. Those moments that people are curious about, they shine. And it's all there within those 20 days. It's really very natural.
Brett, I want to turn to 2 elephants in the room we haven't addressed. So the first one's about the movie. Amazon acquired the rights for $40 million. Apparently spent as much as that again on marketing. The total cost is estimated around $75 million. Many say, look, this is just a vanity thing by Jeff Bezos, who owns Amazon, to curry favor with the Trump administration and so on. What is your response to that? And could this movie actually make money, given the roaring start it's had?
Well, first I'll respond to the first part, which is I can tell you for sure that the president had no idea that, and Mark can speak to that more, no idea that we were attempting to make a documentary. I don't know at what point did he discover it, but I know for a fact that he had no idea. She and Mark is the only 2 people I discussed. I was sworn to secrecy, and we didn't want it to leak, obviously. And I know that he was not aware that we were even making the documentary up till the time that we got the offer from Amazon. So this is no quid pro quo. It's completely BS. It doesn't. It literally is just false. It's just not true. And what was the other question?
The economic feasibility.
Oh yeah. So yeah, that's another thing that's really frustrating. I'm sorry. Well, could it make money? Because the truth is, in the world today that we're living, it's all about streaming. Melania and I decided, and it was really Melania's idea. I can't even take credit for it, but I was so happy because being a filmmaker, there's no better way to show a film, a piece of work of mine in a theater. You know, you hear Chris Nolan and all these big filmmakers talking about, we got to have a theatrical experience. They were fighting the streaming opportunities first and said, you got to have this movie. So Melania wanted this movie to be made because I said to her, why, I'm not a documentary filmmaker. I've never made a documentary. And she's like, that's exactly why I want you, because you make movies for the big screen. So with that in mind, knowing that Amazon had purchased MGM, and yeah, it's fantastic that we had a great, fantastic box office. But at the end of the day, the world is going to see this streaming globally. And we want the biggest audience to see this movie. So will it make money? I don't know how the economics within Amazon works, but I know if a lot of people around the world watch it, it will be successful.
Piers, just to jump on the record real quickly, I remember the day that Melania and I had the conversation. Melania came up with the creative concept. I am the only one that negotiated this deal on her behalf. I never had any interaction whatsoever with Jeff Bezos. President Trump was never involved. I'm the only one that had part in that negotiation. As far as the feasibility on the economic side, I believe that they didn't pay enough. This film is catapulted right away into a great opening weekend. It's the highest opening in documentary history over the past 14 years.
Oh, wow.
And we're just catapulting now. It's only been available for 3 days worldwide. Think about the deal, Piers. They have the theatrical release, then streaming of the film. And remember, we're going to be releasing a docuseries during the summer, which Brett will unpack a richer story. And then those 2 elements, the film and the docuseries, will carry through over the next 3 years.
So to correct all of the,
you know what it sounds like to me?
It's not 40
it sounds like to me you guys in real time are gaming the negotiations for Melania, the sequel.
We undersold this one. Amazon MGM took advantage of us.
Brett, I want to just switch gears quickly to the very serious and big stories in the news, the Epstein Files. As you know, a picture came out of you with Jeffrey Epstein with 2 apparently young women in it. What is your response to that picture? And what is your response to the wider scandal of the Epstein Files?
Oh, well, that picture in particular happened around 20 years ago. Out of 20 to 21 years ago, because that is a photograph of my fiance who invited me to this event, and that's where the picture was taken. I was never been in contact with Jeffrey Epstein before that photo, and I was never in contact with him after. So that's a picture of me and my fiance at some event.
Wow. So who was the fiance, if you don't mind me asking?
She doesn't want me sharing her name in the case, but that's my fiance, 100%. Was my fiance.
But you're not still.
I'm not.
I was going to say you're not still with that.
No.
He's not engaged.
Yeah.
It's the world's longest engagement,
No,
20 years.
20 years ago, I was engaged to her when that photo was taken.
Right.
Yes.
And your position is you never met Epstein before or after that picture, that night?
No, never.
What is your opinion of the Epstein file scandal? As this more and more stuff cascades out, more and more people, very high profile people, are dragged in. What is your view of this?
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's horrible. You see, I've been somehow sucked in, through an image. So, there's so many stories about so many different people. It's hard to really follow and track what's truth and what's not truth. You could see where one photograph kind of puts me, there with him, and then all the stories start to spin out. So I don't really know, because I didn't know him. It wasn't really my world. It's not really my world.
Piers, I could tell you, and I'm not sitting here as his defense attorney. I could tell you that this guy has been in the trenches, making the film, promoting the film, and what's been top of mind for him has been building this #1 highest opening for Melania. And I think that, as far as that topic goes, I could understand why he might not have a bigger point of view.
You know what? I put the question to you about the picture. You've given a pretty emphatic answer. We'll leave it there. Brett and Marc, thank you both very much.
Thank you.
Congrats on the success of the film.
Of course. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Piers. Good to see you.
Happy to see you healthy and out of the hospital. All right.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you. Not as happy as I'm. The president rang me actually a couple of days ago, and we were discussing the perils of steps, little steps that can cause enormous amounts of damage if you trip on them. But anyway, it's great to talk to you both. Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you.